What's up, guys? Back again for another edition of Arsenal Academy. I got my partner in crime, Rory, down there.
What's up, Q?
Safely, socially distancing down there. All right, look, guys, Wonder Women. We are back for another edition of Wonder Women. Got two ladies back again because you guys love them. We love them, so they agreed to come back again. Tatiana Whitlock, Judy Wells. Ladies, introduce yourself again. The people should know you already, but give us a little quick hit. Why are you guys our personal experts?
Well, thank you for having us back again. I'm Tatiana Whitlock. I'm part of the Walther Defense Division and the lead director of training for A Girl and a Gun, the nation's largest women's shooting organization. I'm also director of training up here in Maine at Howell's Gun Shop, and I teach nationally concealed carry, firearms fundamentals, and I do a lot of work with families, consulting with them on how to peacefully make their children and their firearms coexist.
I love it. That's what we're going to talk about today. Judy, tell us about yourself.
Hi there. I am the chapter facilitator for A Girl and a Gun chapter in San Diego, California. And I am also Tatiana's co-host on Responsibly Armed Radio.
Great show.
Which is a live syndicated radio show on Sundays.
Great show. Great tips out there. Rory, Tatiana kind of talked about it briefly. Yeah. So we've had them on before, guys. Talked about concealed carry for women. Talked about home defense for women. And now,
I think we're going to touch on a subject that kind of ties into the last one today. Today we're going to talk about your children in the home and firearms.
Very important.
Obviously, it's a broad subject, but it's also something that I think a lot of people that go out and buy these firearms, especially single females at home, buy them for protection to protect their kids. And in order to protect your kids effectively, sometimes that kind of leads into maybe training your kids on how to use those firearms. So I think the biggest question that we always get is, and I'll throw it up to Tatiana first, is what age do you start teaching your kids? Do you start them at 2 years old, 5 years old, 7? That's a pretty broad question, but I'll let Tatiana answer that for us.
All right.
And that is the very first question that new parents bringing guns home ask. And it's also a question that parents who've had firearms in the home, but the kids are what's new, ask. So it goes both ways. The reality is it is never too young to start having the firearm safety conversation. We're teaching little kids about electricity safety, kitchen safety habits, where you can and cannot go, stranger danger. Firearm safety should be part of that experience and just as homogenous in our safety training with our kids as any of those other dangerous things. Don't drink the bleach under the sink. Don't touch a firearm.
No Tide Pods.
It shouldn't be something special, taboo, mystical. We should not build in that thought process that these are any more interesting or cool than the chainsaw they're also not allowed to touch in the shed. When it comes to working with kids or bringing kids to the range, when are they physically allowed to make contact with that firearm? That comes with a level of child-to-child emotional maturity. When that child can safely follow directions with other dangerous things like kitchen utensils, for example, and they can follow the parent's directive and require supervision for certain tasks with those dangerous tools. And if then they express interest, that's when we take that first step and we bring them to the range. Isolate the firearms away from the home in that first training experience with the kids so that they understand this tool has an application in a specific environment. They should feel uncomfortable handling guns in a home environment and space, because what if they go to a friend's house and there's a gun there? These kids should not feel comfortable being in a room with their buddies they stumble upon dad's hunting shotgun in the closet in a camo bag. That should make them uncomfortable. So we isolate those experiences, and if necessary, hire a third party to be the bad guy. Not everybody is meant to teach their spouse how to shoot. No. Yeah. Not everyone is suited to teach their kids to shoot. But that co-experience of going to the range and taking that lesson together is really important and vital in those first few steps.
Right. I know, Judy, offline, we had discussed talking to Tatiana's point, being a role model 100% of the time. You know what I mean? It's the habits that your kids pick up, the things that they see you doing, they'll do. If you're responsible, they're going to generally be responsible, right? I mean, so
yeah. And Judy, I'd love to hear from you on what you think as far as say that they're a little bit older, not young kids that you've always had firearms around. Say, you're in a situation where you just got into firearms, but let's say you have some kids that are a little bit older and they're a little bit more mature, how do you go about maybe introducing them to firearms?
Well, our job as parents is to be prepared to answer questions and have credible and accessible resources for our children. To Tatiana's point of sometimes we're not the best ones to teach. And if there's a specific issue that an adult child is coming to you with, they want a firearm for a reason like a stalker or a DV, domestic violence situation, you need to be prepared to direct them to the best resources so that they can talk to the proper authorities. Also, young adults, they have a different level of activity in their home. So they can't just stash their guns without understanding about nightstands, if they have about safes, because they have parties and people they might not know so well in their homes. That's important.
That's
Another
definitely.
thing is.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Another thing in young adults is they might have jobs or professions that they can't talk about owning a firearm.
Oh, yeah.
So they need to be schooled about discretion and understanding.
Now that's a good point there.
Real good
I
point.
love that, Judy.
You don't want them going to school being like, "Hey, my dad's got a Glock 26 at home in the."
He got a new rocket launcher. Look at the new rocket launcher Daddy brought home. Hey,
man.
So to that point, and I definitely want to go to that next topic because you just mentioned something that we actually have here for a couple of examples is storage. But to Tatiana's point, third party. There's help out there for you guys. I know, Tatiana, the NRA has a program. I think it's like Eddie the Eagle.
Annie Oakley's one too, yeah.
And mm-hmm. So there are resources out there for you guys. You're not alone. You don't have to overthink this thing. There are people that are going through the same thing you guys are. Get your help. Look out for your resources. So storage. Let's talk about storage. How do you guys keep firearms safe in the home with your kids? Mm-hmm. I know that's a big thing with you, Rory. You got a young one. I got a 8-year-old daughter at home myself. So we'll talk about our little storage strategies here. But Tatiana, Judy, you guys speak to it. What are your tips and tricks for storage, proper storage?
So your proper storage of your collection needs to be set up where the firearms are unloaded and stored separately and locked up separately from ammunition. So any kid that can watch you punch your cell phone code in and then can hack into your phone 5 minutes later and buy Legos off Amazon should not be allowed to see you punch in the code to your gun safe ever. So 1, guard the safe codes, make sure your equipment is stored separately and unloaded for your collection. And that's a different conversation than it is from your home defense tools, which are stored in a condition of readiness for defense, meaning they're probably loaded. So how do we make sure that we manage those two separate worlds? You need to make sure the gear is accessible to you rapidly and quickly, meaning, as Judy alluded to, maybe you put that biometric little small gun safe, like the two that you have on the counters here, mounted to your nightstand or behind your nightstand or behind a headboard, someplace that you could get to quickly. But it cannot be something that a child or a minor or an unauthorized person in the household could access. So key fobbed, RFIDs, fingerprint scans, special little, punch in the little numbers with your fingers. All of those things should be accessible by you and only you. And that is a very big deal. Complacency with home defense tools or taking your carry gun off and putting it on top of the refrigerator when you get home is not an option. So again, those home habits are absolutely vital. The minute the firearm leaves your physical possession, it must be in a safe.
To Tatiana's point, so quick example for you guys. We like to show and tell here on the show. So to her point, so Rory's got down there. This is a simple clamshell. Just pop that open, Rory. That's for your car. A lot of people don't think about keeping your gun safe in your car, not just from thieves that want to break in. So this one's got the steel cable loop there, but I could show you so many examples. Literally, I saw one last week. Lady was riding in the car, gun just wherever. 5-year-old got the car in the back, shot her in the back of the head, killed her. You know what I mean? So it's about being safe even in your car when you're around your children.
And in firearms, I always like to say, you as a gun owner have a responsibility to keep your firearm safe. Even if, say you're going into a store, you're going somewhere you can't take your firearm, or a federal building, for example, you have a responsibility at that point to keep that firearm safe from criminals, because here in Vegas, at least, it's a super common way for people to get firearms that are criminals is they'll break into your car, check your center console. Guess what? There's your firearm. And it's the same thing with your vehicle. If you're rolling around town with a Glock sticker on the back of your car or an Arsenal sticker on the back of your car, it kind of says, hey, I'm a gun owner.
Come get it.
Come get it. And at that point, you you always got to have a responsibility to keep it safe while it's in the vehicle.
Gun ownership it's important. It's a right. It's a fundamental right, but it's also a huge responsibility, to Rory's point, right? So this is important. You guys got to keep your stuff safe, not just from kids, but from thieves, etc. So another example of that. So this is a home safe. So I have 4 or 5 of these around my house. Now, to her point, Tatiana's point, this one, you got the code, you can do a key, and the thing that I love, this one is a RFID. So I got my RFID little tab on the back of my phone. All I need my firearm. Boom, I hit that, it pops open. You know what I mean? So there is a ton of options. Again, coming back to do your research. I don't want to hear there's nothing that fits me. There's something out there for everybody. Keep your guns safe. Keep them locked up from your kids. There's a way to do it, and there's a way to do it responsibly.
Yeah, definitely. And, some parents may not feel comfortable, getting hands-on just yet, with firearms, but still want to teach the firearm safety aspect, which is still very important. But I'll ask Judy. Judy, when do you think it's, actually a good time for them to actually get hands-on the firearms? Because we can sit there and educate our kids all day long, like, hey, the gun's bad, don't touch the gun, it's just keep your hands off it like the bleach.
But kids will be kids.
But kids will be kids. So at one point in time, do we actually take them out and say, hey, here's, a 22 rifle, like a Cricket, for example, and actually let them get the hands on and the experience and shoot it?
Well, there are all kinds of programs that discuss this concept. Project Child Safe, Eddie the Eagle, Tatiana has one out that she does. I am, again, going to go back to what Tatiana said about it all has to do with maturity and can your child follow directions. And I actually think that this should, or instructions, I actually think this should be decided by a third party, because we all view our children differently, right? We might think our children are the best, smartest, cutest in the world. And a firearm instructor might be like, Mom, not so much, she's not ready, or he's not ready.
He's not ready.
I'm a huge proponent of third-party instruction.
Which
I've worked with some amazing 5-year-olds and some 16-year-olds who are not there yet.
Who are not there.
So it really is child to child.
It is. I started teaching my daughter when she was 6, very slowly, but you're right. I mean, you know your kid, but sometimes you aren't the most honest about what you do know about your child.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice. And I don't think a lot of people have thought about that. I think they just think, okay, little Johnny's old enough now. Let's take him out to the range, because he can manipulate a firearm and whatnot, but not thinking to themselves like, hey, can he follow direction good enough, and can he actually be responsible with this, and can I trust him to not go in to the gun safe or wherever the guns are stored? Granted, they should be locked up, but if by chance you had, like a lot of people have the gun cabinets, in areas of the country that, hunting's really popular. But that's a great piece of advice.
So look, guys, don't want to turn this into a long show. Just want you guys to always just get information from us. So at the end of the day, where can you get this stuff? These great safes, tons of other great safes, k-var.com. That's our resource. That should be your resource. Ladies, responsiblyarmedradio.com. These two guys give great information on their show. And I want you guys to give a shout out to your own website. So Tatiana, where can the people reach you for some great training? Tell us.
Certainly. I can be reached at TatianaWhitlock.com, and that's my name on across all of the social media platforms. And if this is a subject that you would like to dive into more, there is a video that you can watch for free that we produced with Panteo Productions. That's PANTAEO.com. And you can find the Tatiana Whitlock Kids and Guns video that covers a lot more in depth all of the subjects we touched on today.
I watched that whole video, by the way. That was some deep work you did there. You got in depth. I loved it. I definitely loved it. Judy, all right, Gun and a Girl. Tell us, where can we find it?
A Girl and a Gun.
Girl and a Gun. I'm going to get it right one day. One day I'm going to get it.
Got your back. agirlandagun.org. Go to that website. You can find your chapter. If you can't see a chapter near you, join the national chapter. Amazing facilitators, instructors across the country, as well as responsiblyarmedradio.com. Check out our website for more information on all the topics we touched on today.
Awesome. Well, we've enjoyed having you guys once again in the studio and
definitely
having a great conversation. And if you guys have questions at all whatsoever for us or for Tatiana or for Judy, we'll be happy to get you some answers. And you can send those questions to questions@arsenallink.com.
Definitely. That's where this show came from. We hope to have these guys on back again. So hit us up with your questions. We love you guys. See you next time.